Hello, Wayne, Erik, Owen, and Jayden here, and today we're talking about one of the biggest events in video gaming, and that's always when Nintendo is releasing one of their consoles. Not that it means everything, but people seem to make a bigger deal about Nintendo releasing a console than probably just about anything else.
I think the reason they do that is because, I mean, let's just look at PlayStation, Xbox, and this for a second. And PC, I'd say yeah, but that's not really meant for gaming as much as you can do it on there. So I wouldn't really count that. But Xbox, yeah, they make a new system. That's nice. PlayStation, oh, there's a new system. That's nice. But with Wii U, I think it's more different every time than the other two are different. Like the other, like Xbox and PlayStation. Oh, Xbox One is so much better than Xbox 360. Graphics are better, loading's better, games are better. But with like the Nintendo, everything's completely changed.
Sony and Microsoft have a tendency to fight over who's got more power, who can do more, that kind of thing, where Nintendo tries to break the mold and a little bit different. So
exciting.
Yeah. So obviously we're talking about the Switch, which is coming out on March 3rd. Nintendo's first kind of hybrid console, which is really, I guess, the first one, not just Nintendo's, but the first one for anybody. But it can hook into your TV and you can take it on the go, which is kind of neat.
I wonder if they'll put Pokemon Go on there.
No, probably not.
No.
I think one of the things that's kind of interesting right now at this point is that, like you were saying about Sony and Microsoft, is that they keep pushing forward, redoing their systems. They're newer versions of the old one. They may have some things thrown into it, but you know what to expect. If you happen to like one of those systems, then you're going to like the new one, where Nintendo kind of shuffles things up and does things differently. So it's been kind of a roller coaster ride where sometimes a lot of people like the system, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, sometimes it helps Nintendo because the Wii was done really well and it was done with motion controls and everybody liked it because it's different. People like it. Wii U wasn't done right, so they tried to mess up how they were doing it and make it cool. And now, out of the three, they're kind of falling behind. But maybe the Switch can help.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people major complaint about the Wii U was that a lot of people thought that it was an expansion on the Wii, that you were really buying the gamepad. It wasn't a brand new system, so folks that didn't have the Wii didn't really want the Wii U because they thought they had to buy both. I don't know if I really buy that complaint, because I think that if you go to the store and you look, they're both there on the package. If you know anything about games, you kind of know that the Wii U is a different system. I really think the major problem with the Wii U was the lack of games that it had. It didn't have third-party games, of course, but then the first-party games were so far and few between, and that's really what sells a Nintendo system, is those first-party games, those Mario franchises.
Yeah,
And
everybody thought the Wii U was a Wii because the name, and in the trailer, everyone who didn't have the Wii U gamepad had Wii remotes. So everybody's looking at it like, oh, it's a Wii U gamepad, and we buy this and use it with our Wii. And because they don't show the Wii U in the trailer, it's okay. It's a Wii gamepad. We use it,
Yeah.
and then everybody else uses Wii remotes.
That's a good point, because it was nice that the Wii U used the same controllers as the Wii, because then what you already bought you could use, but it did confuse some people some more. I think Nintendo's been on a very interesting kind of journey, that after the video game crash in the 80s, a lot of people thought that home video games were done, and that the arcade was the only place, and then the NES came out, and that basically changed everything around, and it was Nintendo versus Sony, and Nintendo was doing really, really well. Sony did pretty good too, but it Sony wasn't able to hold up against Nintendo. And then Nintendo kind of messed up their deal with Sony, and Sony ended up making the PlayStation, and things kind of went south after that. Nintendo has a track record of holding on to things that they shouldn't be. Like, they held the cartridges way too late. The GameCube had the little discs, which, okay, it's this little cube thing that you can carry around, and I guess it was kind of made that you could bring it over your friend's house easy, but no one ever brought it anywhere. I mean, that wasn't something anybody was ever going to do.
Yeah, and they just keep messing themselves up.
Yeah, they don't always seem to make the wisest decisions sometimes on things, and they kind of stubbornly push forward through that, which has kind of hurt them. One of the things I would like to point out is that we do own a Wii U, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. I like all three systems. I think that's important because there's a lot of people out there that, they're fanboys of one system, and they're going to say that it's good no matter what, or they're going to say the competitor's bad no matter what, and that kind of thing. We like all of them. We have all of them. Every generation, we have all of them. So we're not really biased one towards the other than what that offers us that we like and can get out of it. So I think the strength of the PlayStation 4 is it does have really good power. Also, it has a lot of the more Japanese style video games that I really enjoy, so that's always a plus. Xbox, for the longest time, I didn't like the Xbox because it tended to focus on sport games and first person shooters, and I wasn't really into a lot of those until recently. I've kind of changed my mind on those. But I think their Xbox Live is really, really good. So I like the multiplayer aspect of the Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox's party system is the strongest out of the three.
Yeah, and then the Nintendo, one thing Nintendo's always done that's really good is that they have the local co-op. The video games used to be where you sat in front of a TV and everyone who played was there in front of the TV. And I think it's really cool that you can play games like Overwatch and this, and there's people all across the world playing with you, and that's really cool. But a lot of the systems have made it almost impossible to play these games. Our TVs are bigger, we've got high def, you'd think it'd be easier to do split screen and that kind of thing, but the games just are online only if you want to play multiplayer, and that's really a shame. And I think the Nintendo systems, that's always been kind of a strong thing for them, is that the multiplayer on the one system has been kind of neat. And I think that almost seems kind of different with the Switch. That may end up being different because some of that Switch is you're playing in front of the TV, but you could also be off on your own playing it as a single player. So, that's kind of interesting. But Nintendo's had a kind of a bumpy ride. They've been on top. They've been the underdog. And I know there's an awful lot of people who are viewing the Switch as this is Nintendo's last chance to really show that they're relevant, to really show that they understand gamers. And I think that that's the major problem that I've always had with Nintendo, is that they don't seem to understand their customer base. They arrogantly come up with an idea and just assume that everyone's going to like it, and they treat it as if you don't agree with them, then you're wrong. Well, you don't get customers that way.
Well, it's like you said, they're arrogant. They think, oh, we're Nintendo, we came out with the NES, we must be the best. At this point, you're not. Out of the three, you're the worst.
Yeah, and I think some of it might be a cultural type thing too. Microsoft obviously is an American company. Sony and Nintendo are not. But I think one of the things that Sony tries to do is Sony tries to look at a worldwide point of view. They try to look at all these different cultures from around the world and try to incorporate what they can into it. Microsoft does a horrible job with that. They look at America. And if you're not American, then forget about it.
Which we're American, so we like it. But
yeah, it's good for us, but it's not good for which is one reason why there's no Xboxes in Japan, because it's not aimed for anybody other than Americans most of the time. But and then Nintendo's almost the exact opposite. Nintendo has this habit of doing things that just seem very Japanese, and they just assume that the rest of the world's going to embrace that, which things are, not everybody's Japanese.
Sadly, people do embrace it because it's Nintendo.
Right, but I mean, like things like the 3DS, what was it, the thing on the 3DS, the Street Pass.
Oh, yeah.
I can completely understand. Like in Japan, there's a lot of people are crowded into trains all the time. They take trains everywhere, so their mass transit is very big in Japan. So the concept of having your device being able to pull data off of different devices that are nearby, and that works into your experience, that sounds very Japanese to me. The same thing with Nintendo Go. Nintendo Go. Pokemon Go, which I understand another company kind of developed it, but Nintendo was watching over it, and the entire thing is, if you live in a city, a very populated place like Japan, that you have an advantage over areas that don't, and there are areas that are not very populated, and they can't play the game because the game's not aimed at them at all.
Like, I played Pokemon Go, and I just got sick of it and quit because I would go around and I'd find maybe 1 or 2 rare Pokemon in a month. If that. Because we don't live in somewhere unpopulated, but we also don't live anywhere super populated like the game's meant for. So we'll go around. Best we can find in a maybe 2-hour walk is 3 Pidgeys. If that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's very clear that they look at their own country when developing things, and they don't really have a good worldwide view of things. So things that are very, very popular in Japan don't always translate well when it hits America, hits Europe,
and vice versa,
wherever it's going, or vice versa. And I think Sony, out of all 3 of the major video game systems, at least, Sony tends to have the best well-roundedness of that, which is good. So, but Nintendo, at the beginning, yes, this was great, but there really wasn't much choice. And like you say, a lot of times with nostalgia and stuff, that kind of helps sell these things. And then, Sony came onto the market and Microsoft came onto the market, and people realized that the stuff Nintendo was doing was not necessarily the best. But so I guess that's our first episode of our Nintendo Switch thoughts. We really didn't even get into the Nintendo Switch, but we're just kind of setting the foundation of our thoughts of where Nintendo's been, what we like, that kind of thing. And we'll move on to, in future episodes, more specifically looking at the Switch.
Yeah, we'll probably do 1 or 2 other episodes before it, and we might do 1 or 2 or 3, or who knows how many after it, talking about how it actually turned out. We'll go over the portability, the controllers, the launch titles, post-launch titles, where does it sit in the current generation, will it do well, when it's out, we'll go over those things again in a different perspective, because we already know how it is.
Yep, so make sure you remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Because again, this is going to be a series, and it's tightly tied in between the different episodes. We thought it might be good to break them up instead of doing one giant episode kind of thing. So the next time, like Jayden said, we'll be tackling the portability of the system.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think we'll do controllers too?
probably the next one. But
Well, technically
subscribe
technically the
wherever the button is.
stuff.
Technically,
somewhere.
the controller
So.
is the portability. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, watch more of our videos. Like on Twitter, and I'll see you.
All that other
I'll see you
garbage.
later. Hashtag good evil. I'm still onto that. Bye.